So there's going to be a big weekend of UFC in Singapore because you got the UFC Fight Night card and you also got the semi-finals of the Road to UFC tournament. This is going to be episode 2. I have already given my predictions for episode 1, so if you haven't seen them, you don't have to watch them in order. But there is another group of fights that you can watch and also another group of predictions that you can watch from me as well. I will be live streaming during the Road to UFC tournament as well, so you can talk about the fights with me as we do watch them together. And I think that it's going to be a pretty good card. I'm looking forward to it. If you are unfamiliar with the tournament, it's kind of like Dana White's Contender Series, but instead of just one-off fights to get into the UFC, it's a tournament. So you've got to win a couple of fights to get into the UFC. This is the semi-finals. The quarterfinals have already happened. You can watch them on UFC Fight Pass if you do wish to. But these guys have won, and they're going to be competing for a place in the finals. And the finals will be taking place on the prelims of a UFC fight card. And typically the winner and the loser of the finals both get UFC contracts. So no matter really what happens, and whoever does win this fight, they will probably find themselves in the UFC. So it's definitely something to keep your eye out for. But you will notice there is one non-tournament bout. And this is kind of like a Dana White's Contender Series fight, but kind of not at the same time. Because not always the non-tournament guys do get signed to the UFC. But this time around for this episode, it's going to be at 155 pounds. And it's going to be between Jae-Hyun Park and Quillan Salkeed. And I like this fight a lot. I really like it for Quillan Salkeed as well, just kind of giving him the opportunity to really get his name out there and fight on the international stage as well. But when it comes down to this matchup, I feel like these guys are very evenly matched, and the fight could absolutely go either way. I feel like they're both pretty evenly matched on the feet. They're both pretty good strikers, but I do believe that Jae-Hyun Park is the one that does have the option to take this fight to the ground if he does so choose. And with that being said, I am going to pick Jae-Hyun Park to win this matchup, but Quillan Salkeed is a very, very skilled fighter from Australia. I'm from New Zealand, so I kind of am on top of the Australian regional scene. It's a lot more popping in the New Zealand MMA regional scene, but Quillan Salkeed, he's got some good wins. He just went out there and beat Blake Donnelly, which is a fantastic win. And that kind of tells you that the UFC had their eye on potentially Blake Donnelly. And because Quillan Salkeed was able to go out there and win, now they've got their eyes on him. And he took on Yam Steven, which is a good win as well. Dom Fan was 1-0 at the time. He did lose his debut, but he's gone on to have a pretty good win streak. And Jae-Hyun Park, I believe, has also lost his debut and is now on a good win streak himself. He doesn't really have the best wins in the world, I guess, compared to Quillan Salkeed. I guess he's just got that really, really good win over Blake Donnelly, but I am going to go with Jae-Hyun Park. He just has the ability to mix in wrestling as well as the striking, so give me Jae-Hyun Park to win this fight by decision. Very, very not confident pick by me. It's going to be a matchup between two guys that are very evenly matched on the feet. Both are great strikers, but I think it's going to be Jae-Hyun Park that's able to mix in the wrestling as well as the striking as well, so I'm going to pick him to win. Now we've got Long Jiao taking on Shuya Kamikubo. Shuya Kamikubo was my pick to win the whole thing. I'm not as confident in that anymore after his performance in the quarterfinals because he didn't look that good. But I'm still going to stick with him to win this fight. I do believe that he can go out there and beat Long Jiao. Long Jiao is somebody that the UFC really wants in their promotion. I'm not entirely too sure why, but the amount of opportunities that this guy is getting to get into the UFC is pretty crazy. He fought on Dana White's Contender Series and lost to Christian Canones. And then he was meant to fight on Road to UFC last year twice, and both times he was able to he had to pull out due to various reasons. And then he fought on Road to UFC again against Shohei Noze. He won that fight. Now he's taking on Shuya Kamikubo. Shuya Kamikubo is a very, very good fighter, and he's very credentialed as he has fought some very great competition over in one championship. This guy has the best level of competition, I guess, out of everybody on this card. And he did beat Beijing Gialisi. But in my opinion, he didn't look very good doing it, dude. He kind of showed fantastic cardio, and he fought exactly like Merab. He was just spamming takedowns over and over and over again, and he wasn't getting them. He wasn't able to get them. You just spam a takedown, and you kind of give up halfway in, and then you pull out and just spam another takedown just over and over and over again. He was able to win that fight. He showed fantastic cardio, and he was able to get the fight to the ground at one point in the fight in the third round. And when he did, he looked really good on the ground. And I do believe that Long Jiao's takedown defense is not going to be as good as Shuya Kamikubo, but it is worth noting as well, for both of these guys, they are both grapplers. So Long Jiao probably might even welcome the grappling from Shuya Kamikubo. But I like Shuya Kamikubo, man. He showed him absolutely insane cardio in his last fight. and he does have fantastic grappling when he can get it down to the ground. With that being said as well, he's fought way better competition as well than Long Zhao, because Long Zhao, you know, since he lost to Christian Canones in a fight which he was able to get a takedown in as well, just hasn't fought the best guys, really. He did beat Shohei Nozei, who I do rate highly. I think he will probably be in the UFC one day as well, but I'm going to go Shuya Kamikubo. I think that he does get it done here. I'm going to go Kamikubo by submission, actually. I'm not too sure that he wins the whole thing. I think him versus potentially the winner of this fight could be a close one. We will see what kind of happens as we move on up the card to Zhu Rong taking on Sang-Uk Kim. I'm pretty confident Zhu Rong should win this one here. He is quite an inconsistent fighter though. One thing that he does have is a lot of power on the feet, man. This guy can knock you out. He knocked out Sung Chang Hong in his fight last time, knocked him out with the right hook. Very, very good KO there. If you don't know as well, Zhu Rong actually was signed to the UFC and he had a pretty bad stint with the promotion, I guess. He only went 1 and 2. He was released early. And then he's gone on to have pretty good success, I guess, outside of the UFC. He lost to Rodrigo Vargas in a fight which, honestly, I thought he looked really... He looked like he could have won that fight and chose not to, man. That was meant to be his coming out party. He was meant to beat Rodrigo Vargas. He was meant to knock him out. And in the first round, you think he threw like 4 strikes or something. And then he kind of put the foot down a little bit more in the second and third round, but never really got it going. And then he beat Brandon Jenkins, which was a good win, I guess. But then he lost to Ignacio Bahamondes. That kind of does happen. Ignacio Bahamondes is a pretty good striker and a pretty good fighter in general as well. But when it comes to this one, Sang-Uk Kim, he was able to get a very good win over Kazuma Maruyama, but Kazuma Maruyama wasn't really the highest level guy going into it. And before that, man, he has not fought very good guys. I think that Zhu Rong knocks him out. I'm going to go Zhu Rong to win by KO. I think he's going to be the much better striker in this matchup. And then we can move on up the card. You got Daya Mercy Zawupasi taking on Chang Ho Lee. And both of these guys looked really good in their fights, man, in their last ones. Now, Chang Ho Lee, he took on, in my opinion, a lesser opponent. He took on runner Rudra Pratap Singh, who was 11-1, but literally every single fight of this guy, aside from the fight that he lost, was against a guy that was debuting. He had a pretty padded record, and he just didn't really have anything for Chang Ho Lee. Chang Ho Lee dominated that fight, kind of as I did expect him to. And he hasn't really fought the best guys as well. He did lose to Sim Kai Jong, who's a pretty good fighter from Singapore himself. But Daya Mercy Zawupasi reminds me of Khamzat Chimaev, man. He went out there against Ibrahim Ginting and shot for a takedown within like 20 seconds. Well, not even that. Within like 5 seconds of the fight starting, he went out there and just shot for a takedown. And I think he's going to do that against Chang Ho Lee. Now, the thing is, Chang Ho Lee's a good grappler himself. He's a good wrestler. So it'll be interesting to see if that can work. But I am going to go Daya Mercy Zawupasi to go out there, shoot for a takedown as soon as the fight starts. I think he gets it as well, takes down Chang Ho Lee, and just works ground and pound and works for a submission or a ground and pound TKO. So give me Daya Mercy Zawupasi to win this fight inside the distance very early on as well. And now we can move on up the card to Bahati Boli Botebalati between Shin Haraguchi as well. I'm going to go Shin Haraguchi. Shin Haraguchi was my pick to win the entire tournament. Mark Lamarco was my pick to win the whole thing at 125. I didn't mention that, but I'm actually picking against him just to spoil my episode 1 pick. But in this matchup, I'm very confident Shin Haraguchi gets it done. This guy is a legitimate wrestler. I believe he's a multiple-time national wrestling champion. I believe he's competed internationally, but I don't think he's won internationally in freestyle wrestling. But he is a very good wrestler, man. You see it in his fights, and he is so good. The problem with Shin Haraguchi is, though, he is so small for 155 pounds, man. This guy he's tiny for 155. Just to put it simply, he really is not big for the weight class whatsoever. And Bahati Boli Balati, though, I just don't rate him that highly, to be honest. I just don't know if he's UFC level yet. I mean, he's still only 26 years old. He went out there, he was actually losing. He was actually going to get knocked the fuck. He was about to get knocked out by Won Bin Ki. In fact, Won Bin Ki pretty much did knock him out. But in the finishing sequence, he did hit the back of the head of Bahati Boli. And, sorry, just occurred to me what I was about to say. Yeah. Anyway, the point is he was about to get KO'd. He was about to lose. And he didn't look that good against Won Bin Ki either. I just think that and he shouldn't have won this fight either. I don't think Bahati Boli Balati is that good. I think Shin Haraguchi is that good. The problem is he's so small for 155. This guy could probably... I'm not even joking, dude. Shin Haraguchi could probably fight at 135 pounds. And even then, he probably would be a big bantamweight, but he should fight at 145 after this season, man. I just can't believe that he fights at 155. I think he dominates Bahati Boli Balati. He is so good at wrestling. I think he's going to take him down. And it might not be the most exciting fight, but I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a display of very high level wrestling from Shin Haraguchi, because he is that good at wrestling. And that's my picks for episode 2. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And hopefully I'll see you guys in that live stream. I'll be live for Dana White's Contender Series as well, and the UFC card. I mean, I've got a lot of streams coming up. This is kind of what happens when I'm on holiday from university. But with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.